Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Draw Awesome Animals with your friends at Peppermint Narwhal. In this video series, we teach you how to draw animals in a fun and simple way while sharing facts about the species as we go. So let's go ahead and get started. And since today is Cinco de Rhino, we are going to select the Sumatran Rhino as the animal that we'll be drawing today. Now, the Sumatran Rhino is one of 5 rhino species. It may not be the one you're most familiar with, but it is it's found on the island of Sumatra, and that's where the name comes from. It's also a close relative of the extinct woolly rhino, which existed around the Ice Age. And it kind of contains some of that, you can see a little bit of its relatives in this. It's known as the hairy rhino. All rhinos have hair, but this guy tends to have the most hair, and sometimes even looks a little shaggy. So this is the animal we'll be drawing today. Of course, we said its common name is Sumatran rhino. In the parentheses area of its scientific name, which includes the genus and species for this animal. And unfortunately, this animal's status right now, coming from the IUCN's Red List of Threatened Species, is that it is critically endangered. And that's the highest risk of extinction for this species. So we definitely have some work to do. All rhino species are at risk for being endangered for extinction, and this one is one of those at that real tipping point. There's a number of rhinos that are critically endangered. So remember, if you finish your drawing today, maybe post it using that hashtag #MintySketch, and that way other people will get a little more aware of this species. So here we go. We got pencil and paper as the drawing method that I'm going to be starting with today. Now, if you've been on past drawing videos, you'll know exactly how I'm going to sort of start off this drawing, because you've seen it before on the beginning of all episodes. But we'll explain it here pretty quickly. We're going to make 3 little dots on our page, and these dots will help us with making a curve line. We're essentially going to be using a drawing technique at times where we just sort of create this connect the dots. So we've all done connect the dots. I use 3 dots to do a curve because it gives you an extra thing to aim at for the top of the curve, and that's what this middle point serves as. So I'll just kind of connect these using that curve line, aiming at the middle to be the arch of my curve. And there we go. We got our first bit of the drawing started already. So we're drawing the head right now. That's going to be the back side of the head. We're going to come back up to this original dot here. We'll put a dot out here and a dot out here. So there's another 3 dots to make a curved line. That's going to be the top of the head. There we go. Looks pretty good. Now for the front side of the head, we're going to we're going to sort of do this sort of sloping front side of the head here. So we'll leave this dot over here. We'll put a dot maybe right about there, and we'll put a dot maybe right about there. So that's going to be a nice sloping curve there, and just kind of connecting those together to get the front side of my head. Looks pretty good. All right, now for the sort of front of the snout here, we'll use this dot here, and we'll use this dot here, or create this 2 more dots for 3 to give us a curve. I'll just kind of make like a nice little rounding curve for the top of the snout. And then we'll just draw a line, a dot right here for a straight line. We'll just kind of bring that kind of straight down. There we go. It looks pretty good. So now we're going to put an eyeball on this guy. And, you know, actually I'm going to take this just a little bit longer there. Make that line just a little bit longer. It's a little short there. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here. We're going to put an eye on this guy. We're drawing the head, and we're going to put the eye right about here. We're just going to kind of draw this nice little sort of oval here. And I'm just going to kind of put that oval in right about there. It looks pretty good. And remember, I like to color that oval in, but I'll leave a little bit of the white of the paper for a highlight, a little inner circle there that I don't color in. And that'll give me a nice highlight of the page. The white of the page becomes a nice highlight for the eye. Now, rhinos kind of have, they're very wrinkly because they have thick skin. It kind of rolls up a little bit, so even around the eye. They actually have a fairly small eye. We've given them a bit bigger eye here just to be more expressive. But I'll put some of those wrinkle marks there around there, and I'll put like almost like a baggy eye, a little bit of a bag under the eye. And again, these animals aren't very great with vision. They have fairly small eyes. They rely much more heavily on scent as a way to sort of, you know, see what is around in their area as far as food or other predators to warn them against them. So there we go. We've got our eye. We've got the front of our head here. We're going to put a curve line here, just a nice little arching curve right below the eye, kind of almost like making a mini rainbow there. And that's going to be the dimple of our smile, and that'll give us a nice happy animal here. To do the smile or the whole mouth, top of the mouth here, we're going to draw an S curve, and it's going to kind of go down like this and up like that. It's almost like drawing two arches, you know, curve there, and then kind of a reverse one coming up there. If you've been on previous videos, you've seen this S curve. If you're new to it, you might just want to watch me draw it, or even if you've done it before, you might just want to watch me get the overall shape of it in there, and then you can kind of draw yours. But see how it started dropping down? Now we're kind of going back up almost like a roller coaster hill, and kind of coming back down and connecting with that top of the front of the lip there. So that looks great. Now we'll go ahead and put a nostril on this guy. They have a big nostril. Remember I said small eyes and big nose. They use the nose for scenting. To draw the nose, it's kind of like, maybe you'll just draw a couple dots here and make like a straight line. And then kind of round those off at the end here. And we're almost making like a teardrop sort of shape there. And I'm just kind of connecting that back. I'm just going to kind of color that in for that big nostril. And then they have this sort of like, almost like this curve here, that sort of big, almost like we have our nostrils, sort of that bit of flesh around the hole of the nostril. So there we go. We've got that big sort of snout there. That looks pretty good. He got a good sense of smell now in his environment. We're going to put on the thing that makes a rhino most definitively a rhino, and that's the horns. There's two horns on this guy. He has there's rhinos that have two horns and rhinos that have one horn. Unlike the other two-horn rhinos, which are white and black rhinos, which also have two horns, these guys are very small and stumpy. They don't get anywhere near as long and impressive and curl up like the other species do. So for this, we're going to almost draw like a little hill, just sort of rounded hill here for this first horn. Again, nice sort of stumpy horn there. And then he has that second horn will be right about here. Another sort of, it's a little bit smaller. And sometimes these aren't even that noticeable. Sometimes they do have a little bit of point to them. So if you want to make yours a little more pointy, that's fine too. Some of them kind of just never really get too much of a point. And they just sort of look like almost a little rounded mounds where you could see the horns there. But they're not very big. And again, I'm just going to put some little lines here to indicate a little bit of texture to them. They're actually made from hair. Much like the hair of your head, or a material that your hair is made from, or even your fingernails are made from, is called keratin. And that's exactly the same material that a rhino is using to build these horns. So your fingernails have something in hair, have something in common with a rhino horn. Now, of course, much like a fingernail, it's a lot harder than your hair is, and that's why this has these sort of harder texture to it. So there we go. We've got our two horns of our rhino. We'll go ahead and put his mouth on here, and we're going to come down to this sort of tip here. And we're just going to kind of put a little bit of a curve line here at the bottom using this top point of the dimple smile, and kind of curve that down just like that. That looks pretty good. And then we'll do another little bit of a curve, just sort of extend that out and round it off. And now for right here, we're almost just kind of making a reverse curve that just sort of, almost like a little moon shape that sort of stitches that together and gives you the, you know, the full mouth now open. Now to do a tongue, remember if you've on a previous episode, it's almost like a letter M or a bird flying, like if you're drawing a bird in the sky just far off. But it's just that sort of like up, down, up, down. And there we go, we've got our nice tongue in there. And I'm just going to color in the rest of his mouth now, because that would be a little bit darker. And I'll leave that tongue uncolored so it stands off a little better. And there we go, we've got a nice happy smile and a nice open mouth. And we'll now add in his front of his lip here. So we'll do a little bit of a curve here, tight space, but we got 3 points there. Just a little curve line coming off there. And I'll just use that little reverse C shape there to curve it a little bit at that point, because there's not a lot of room to draw 3 dots. And then I'll use a dot here, and a dot here. And I'll make a nice curve line for that underside of the mouth. And then we'll just kind of, we'll take this back over to, we'll kind of almost make like an S curve, or just sort of, you know, you can kind of, got these 2 points. It's almost like a straight line, but you can kind of give it a little bit of a rounded curve to it. And there we got the back side of our head there. That looks great. So there's our head of our rhino. Rhino needs a couple ears. They don't have, you know, like I said, the greatest vision, but the scent is one of their better ones. They also have good sense of hearing. So we'll go ahead and put these ears on this guy. A dot up here, a dot up here, and a dot up here. Make a curved line that'll give us that one of the sides of the back ear. And we'll put another dot at the top of the head and there, and then we'll use that same sort of shape. Again, you can go either direction once you've got your 3 dots. There we go. We've got a nice dot there, or a nice front ear there. And we'll go ahead and put the other ears on this side of the eye. So we'll tuck this one in on the inside of the head. We'll put the dot out here and a dot out here, and then kind of make that nice curved line again. And then again, just sort of using this top point, put a dot here and a dot here, and then bring that together. And now that I've got that tucked in there and I've got my eraser, I can erase out this little bit of line there that I don't need anymore. And then since I've got this now, I can make this the inside of my ear. So I'll just mirror that shape by sort of making like a nice pointed oval sort of shape there. And then we've got a nice head of our rhino. That looks really good. All right, that's great. That's a nice, happy, fun-looking rhino here. We're going to go ahead and start the back here and with the neck here. And we'll start a point right below the ear there on the back of the head. Put a dot maybe right there. And then a dot maybe right there. I'll just kind of make a curved line there between these 3 dots. So there we go. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a dot, use this end dot, use this dot over here, and a dot over here, and that'll give me the back side of this guy. And then we're just going to kind of go up to that curve and then come back down. It looks pretty good. And then from this dot here, we'll just put a little bit of a shorter distance there and then bring those down with another bit of a curve. So that's going to give us the back side of our animal. Looking pretty good. All right, so for the neck here on the underside, we'll go ahead and put a dot right about here on the bottom of this neck, and a dot maybe right here, and just a diagonal straight line there. So there we go. We've got that sort of basically the body, and we're ready to draw some legs. So to draw the legs here, I'm going to make a shape that almost looks like you rolled up your sleeve here. So if I was drawing this and breaking it up into points, it would be really like, you know, 3 dots there, curve, and then from this dot here, a point, and a curve. And we're kind of mirroring this sort of reverse now on the other side here. So we're going to put a dot here, and a dot there. And there we go. We got that nice sort of sleeve. And I won't connect these, but I'll like make a little bit of a line that almost connects them in the middle, leaving a little bit of space between the two. And there's that rolled up sort of skin. And they almost look like they have armor when their skin kind of rolls up. They have very thick hides, and sometimes, like I said, it rolls up a little bit. So we'll show this sort of rolling area around this front leg here. So we'll start on the back here. There's a point already there that looks pretty good. We'll put a point here, and then we'll put a point here and draw a curved line. And then that's another part where the folds of the skin really sort of roll up and almost again make it look like an armor plate there. And then I'll just add a little bit of a, another line here to indicate that sort of, rolling bit of flesh there, or rolling bit of hide. Now the neck also gets kind of rolled up here as well. So for this, you can kind of almost make like just some curved lines to kind of indicate a little bit of that sort of thickness of that. And there you go. We got some sort of wrinkly sort of skin there to kind of indicate that thick rhino hide that we're very known for. And that's a good defensive material. They have very thick hide, so even if a predator does decide to attack one of these guys, remember Sumatran rhinos are one of the smaller rhinos, so they're a little more, they're still very big and they're still able to defend themselves. But this thick hide also, if someone did try to bite them, or even like a pest, like a bug or a bird pecking at them, it doesn't really hurt them at all by having that very thick hide. So it's a great form of defense. So we'll go ahead and finish this bottom part of the leg here. Go and put a dot here, and a dot here. Make a curved line for this back side. And then it's kind of a tight down here, so I'll do still 3 dots, a little bit of curve going the other way there, and that looks pretty good. And then I'll use this dot and this line. We're making a straight line, so I just need two dots for the straight line. And I'll bring that together. And then I'm going to put some nails on this guy to indicate we're making the bottom of the foot here. So just towards the front of the foot, this guy has 3 toes. So we're going to have 3 nails here. So we'll put a nail here and another nail here. Remember, it's like that mini mountain range. I'll do 2 right now, and then I'll offset the third one because it's a little bit set further back, because we're seeing some of the backside there. So there we go. We got 3 toes, and I'll make a nice little curved line here, just kind of working its way back. And then from this dot to this dot, and then the end of that curved line, another curved line to get that front of our foot. That looks pretty good. Again, I said he has 3 toes, and if you remember from the tapir, if you saw the last episode where we drew a Malayan tapir, we talked about odd-toed ungulates, and the rhino is a relative of the tapir, and he's also a relative of horses and zebras. So you might think hippo and rhinos are closely related, but they're really not. They're actually much more closer relatives are the tapir, the tapir, the zebra, and the horse. So those are all odd-toed ungulates or perissodactyl, which just means odd toes or uneven toes. All right, so we'll go ahead and put the back foot on here. Remember this sort of rolled up sleeve shape here. We're just going to kind of mirror that, and I'm going to sort of do the same shape without using the dots. So it's just basically like a rolled up sleeve there, and then another little line in the middle that doesn't fully connect those. And then we're going to do another part of that sort of nice armor looking hide, or that rolled up skin that really kind of looks like armor plates. And we're going to put the 3 dots there for a nice curve. And there we go. We've got that sort of back side rump area that, you know, looks a little separated from the middle part, and then the shoulder area. So we get those nice sort of roll ups. And then for the underside of the belly, we'll just put a dot here, and a dot here, and just kind of connect those with a nice curved line for that belly. And now this leg's going to look a lot like, the back leg's going to look like a lot like the front leg. So if you just want to kind of mirror what you did, or just watch me put in my dots, and I'll do it like we did the other one. There's a curved line there, and then we'll just sort of make a smaller curved line going the other direction there at the back, straight line at the bottom, bringing that together. And remember, we have 3 toes here, so we got 1 of our little mountains, second mountain, and then I'll just offset that other mountain a little bit, put it behind that other one, put that little curve shape in there, and then again just a nice little curve shape there to bring back the back of the foot, or the front of the back foot. Now we'll go ahead and make this little spirally looking shape here, this long elongated spiral. That's again just indicating a lot of little wrinkles. Rhinos always have sort of that thick wrinkly skin, so that's going to indicate a little bit there. And then to do 2 more legs for the other side, it's really just kind of mirroring what we've done before here. You won't see all of it, so you don't need to worry about getting all those toes on there, but I'll get a couple of them on this view. And then again, this side over here, I'll just kind of indicate a little bit of that other foot there, sort of tucked behind the other one. There we go. Looks pretty good. All right, that looks great. Now we'll put a tail on this guy. To do that, we're going to go ahead and just use the back side here. They have a stumpy little tail, put a nice little curve to it. So there we go, curve on there. And I'll just sort of round that off with almost like the letter C there at the tip. And then I'll just sort of draw another curved line, 3 dots to work that back to get that sort of back tail. And he has some hair on the back of the tail there, so you can just indicate that with like a few little strokes of lines there. Remember I said this guy's the hairy rhino, so he really has hair all over his body. Now all rhinos actually have hair all over their body, but this guy's comparatively to other rhinos the hairiest. That's why he gets that name, the hairy rhino. So I'm just drawing like these, almost like making blades of grass if you're drawing in a drawing, and making these little hairs that sort of stick up all over the body. Again, this guy could even get sort of shaggy. Some of the individuals will have so much hair they almost look like fur in some places, or look a little patch of fur. But we'll just put a number of these hairs all over the guy, and you could kind of put them really wherever you want to indicate that hair. Scientists think that the hairs help rhinos, and especially this guy who lives in a tropical area. Rhinos like to do something called take mud baths. They find a wallow where it's basically like a hole or depression in the ground that tends to fill up with rainwater, and then the sand and the dust get into a real thick mud. They roll around that. It helps keep them cool. It also adds a layer of almost like we would put on sunscreen to help protect their skin against the sun. And then also it also kind of works as an anti-parasite by having a thick layer of mud all over their body. If a mosquito flies around and tries to bite this guy, it's got an extra hard time with that thick skin and then that thick layer of mud that they would often have on their bodies. So that looks pretty good. We've got our hairy rhino. He's one of the most fun rhino species out there. Again, we'd love to see your drawing. And remember, this guy's critically endangered, so if you can share your drawing with us and everybody with using the hashtag #MintySketch, tell a little bit about this animal and its conservation status. And we hope to see you back at a future episode of How to Draw Awesome Animals with your friends at Peppermint Narwhal. If you like this video, please give it a like, and then also you can subscribe to the page here on YouTube. Otherwise, thanks again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.